Looking to save even more money on your phone bill? How does free sound? Helium Mobile is offering the first free phone plan. That's right, free phone service. Seriously, no bill, no contract, just free.
It's not just some limited time deal. You get nationwide 5G coverage with 3 gigabytes of data, 300 texts, and 100 minutes of calls. If you need more data, you can upgrade to their other plans. Plus, you're supporting a community-built network that's growing every day to keep you seamlessly connected wherever you go.
When we first heard about Helium Mobile, we couldn't wait to share it with all our Frugal listeners who are looking to budget smarter when it comes to everyday necessities without sacrificing quality.
So if you're in the market to cut that monthly phone bill, like really cut it, Helium Mobile is where it's at. Download the Helium Mobile app today and use the code FRUGAL to get your free plan today.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
In a world of economic uncertainty and workplace transformation, learn to lead by example from visionary C-suite executives like Shannon Schuyler of PwC and Will Pearson of iHeartMedia.
The good teacher explains, the great teacher inspires.
Don't always leave your team to do the work. That's been the most important part of how to lead by example.
Listen to Leading by Example, Executives Making an Impact on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Eric Andre. I made a podcast called Bombing about absolutely tanking on stage. I tell gnarly stories, and I talk to friends about their worst moments of bombing in all sorts of ways. Bombing on stage, bombing in public, bombing in life. Like the time I stole a girl's phone during a set and she jumped on stage and threw a big haymaker punch to my nose. Listen to Bombing with Eric Andre on Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Episode 495, Insights on Credit Card Debt, What You Should Consider.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast, where you'll learn to save money, embrace simplicity, and live a richer life. Here are your hosts, Jen and Jill.
Welcome to the Frugal Friends Podcast. My name is Jen.
My name is Jill.
And today we are talking specifically about credit card debt. When we gave you guys the mega survey that you filled out last month, the number one goal most of you had was paying off debt. So we definitely do want to touch on different types of debt. And we think that credit card debt is some of the most dangerous and widely harmful. And that's what we're starting with.
So we know that most of us who have debt, we want it gone. You've already told us that. But there's even more things that we can explore and understand about credit cards and credit card debt that we think will even help to provide more incentive to get this paid off and to not find ourselves specifically in credit card debt again in the future.
Yes. But first, this episode is brought to you by our Fulfilling Finances Frugal Home course that we are potentially going to make. So we also, when we surveyed you, we asked you what you were most interested in learning about financially this year. And so many of you had interests across the board. So we wanted to create something digital with videos, walkthroughs, templates that you could use to learn these things. So sinking funds, what you need, how much you need it, investing. A lot of you wanted to know more about not just investing for retirement, but also investing outside of retirement, what that looks like, also 529s. And so just really a general personal finance course with the frugal mentality that we have always brought to everything we talked about. So if that's something you feel like you need a more holistic, well-rounded financial education, but not at the expense of things that maybe other influencers just it doesn't jive with you, then pre-order this course. If enough of you are interested in it, then we'll make it. If not, then we won't make it. We'll try something else.
And we'll refund you your money.
Yeah. And within like a couple weeks. So frugalfriendspodcast.com/frugalhome. That is the link to learn a little bit more and pre-order the course. We're going to span personal finance across the 5 pillars of frugality. So that's your money, your time, physical spaces, natural resources, and food. So we're not going to create a course that doesn't really go into meal planning and meal prepping and cooking and all of that. So all these things touch finance. And so, yeah, that's what it's going to be.
I'm excited for it. Hopefully enough of you want it so we can do it.
We would be excited to make this, record the videos, record the walkthroughs, create the templates, the checklists, all of that. All right, so let's get into credit card debt. We're going to break this up into 3 parts. We're going to talk a little bit about data, a little bit about things that you may not know, insights you may not know about credit card debt, and then some of the things banks are doing with the money that you pay in interest and what you might be funding that you are unaware of.
So it's really interesting to go into some of these statistics. And we'll just kind of rattle off a couple that we found for like 2025 credit card debt stats. And so, but it needs to look back because
it's still the early 2025.
It's still 2020.
So we don't have those stats yet.
So this one, though, the first one starts in 2023, where they found that at the end of 2023, revolving credit was measured at over $1.3 trillion. So that's the amount of credit card debt that we are carrying over. That's what that kind of revolving
that interest
means.
is being charged on.
Yeah. And that 52% of female cardholders carry a credit card balance month to month. So meaning we're not paying it off every month. Over half of us are carrying that over, meaning you're paying that interest on that debt that you're carrying over. It may only be $500, $1,000, but at 18 to 24%, that's a significant amount more money you're paying for whatever it was that you had bought and now you can't pay off.
Yeah. And more than a quarter, 28%, it's just day-to-day expenses. It's groceries, childcare, utilities, just normal stuff. It is not shopping sprees. And 15% said it was like emergency and unexpected medical bills. So these are things that are not lavish, right? We sometimes think of credit card debt and we are conditioned to picture the woman holding 8 bags coming from the shopping mall, having spent all her money.
And it's all on shoes because she just can't stop herself from buying shoes.
That narrative is false, right? It is on regular day-to-day things. But here's the thing. Most households that carry credit card debt month to month are higher income. So 57% of households earning $80,000 or more per year have had their revolving credit card debt for over a year. 22% have had it for 5 years or more. So we're not necessarily speaking about very low income households. These are middle class, upper middle class households that are putting day-to-day expenses on a credit card. And there's some kind of disconnect there. And obviously, if it's a spending issue that we, maybe we're overspending here and having to put, important things on a credit card, that's a different conversation. But it is a conversation about this should technically be something you can pay off. We're talking to households that technically have the income to be able to afford groceries and save an emergency fund for unexpected expenses and just need guidance on how to get there.
Yeah, and buying everyday expenses on a credit card isn't the issue. It's the not paying it off at the end of every month and then eventually paying the interest on that. And that can just be so overwhelming over, many, many years of this revolving credit card debt and just the mounting interest. And it can feel like you're just buried underneath all of it. And so, yeah, for that reason, I think it's important to kind of look at spending and understand kind of how credit cards work and operate so that we can make some of these changes, important, beneficial changes to the ways in which we engage with credit. So we want to look at, there's this really helpful article from dowjanes.com, and it's about 6 things credit card companies don't want you to know. And the first is that your fixed rate isn't set in stone. This is super deceptive because fixed seems to indicate it is not moving, unchanging.
Right.
But really what that means is that the APR or interest rate on the credit card won't change due to inflation or the prime index. However, that doesn't mean that the interest rate won't change based on other factors, like if you have a history of missing payments or your credit score took a hit for whatever reason, they do have the ability to change the APR, the interest rate that you are paying on that credit card debt if you are carrying over a balance month to month.
Yeah. And most people are not delinquent. It's only about 3% are more than 30 days delinquent on their credit card payments. So most of the time you're going to be fixed into this rate. But like you said, if your credit score goes down or, something happens, an emergency comes and you have maxed out your credit card and you can't take out another credit card, then you could be like hit, the cherry on top would be a hit with a higher fixed rate. But still, credit card rates are super high. They are most of the time at least 20%. I have not seen anything under 20% unless it's like a 0% introductory in a very long time.
Yeah, it is insane. I don't know what mine is. I thought it was 18%, but yeah, maybe it's changed. But still, you're talking high range.
Right. And so that is mostly fixed. That's not going down. So that is the least amount of interest you will pay. The second thing is that the 45-day notice is misleading. If your APR does go up, the credit card company is required to send you a 45-day notice. However, that doesn't mean that you have 45 days until the new APR kicks in. It only means you have 45 days to pay the extra interest accrued at the higher interest rate. So in actuality, on the 15th day after they tell you, then the account starts accruing interest at the new higher interest rate.
And of course, this one's obvious, but it's still worth stating. The third thing, they profit from your loss. Obviously, if you do not pay off that credit card and you have a balance rolling over to the next month, they are making from you that 18 to 27% interest off of you over time, continuing to rack up this amount of money. And so they reference that credit card companies made $130 billion off of consumers in 2022, and $105 billion of that came from interest alone. So the other amounts of money, I'm assuming, is from, the charges that they give to the vendors to be able to, utilize the credit card. But the majority of it, $105 billion, is just from the interest that we are paying them.
Mm-hmm. So next is they're sometimes willing to negotiate. So this is a positive thing.
More in your favor.
And you can ask for a lower APR. I would love to hear if somebody's asked for that and actually gotten it. More so, I hear if you have like any late fees or just fees. Usually it's a late payment fee or if you had a debit card, it'd be like an insufficient fund fee or fees like that. They'll often take them off. If you have an annual fee on your credit card, if you call to cancel it, I've canceled so many cards over the years because I don't like to pay the annual fees. It is becoming less and less likely that they will comp that card. They'll just cancel it for you. The last time I canceled a card, they did say that they would give me a credit. So I still have to pay the annual fee, but I'd get like a $30 credit, which brought the $100 annual fee down to like $70. But it's, yeah, they still would make me pay $100.
Because you were canceling after the annual fee was
No.
accrued?
I just called to cancel, and one of their incentives to try to get me to not cancel was giving me the credit. So they can give you a discount. That is a risk. And honestly, even if you want to keep the card, I would still call and try to cancel it. And if they're not going to give you a discount or, and you can just say it's because of the annual fee. And they might say like, oh, okay, we can waive that for you. And say like, it's because of the annual fee. If you were able to waive it for me this year, I would keep the card, yada, yada. So then they may give that to you. And if they don't, they might give you a discount, and then you can decide whether it's worth it or not. Or you can just be like, you know what, I changed my mind. If they're just going to let you cancel, they'll double check with you a couple times before you actually cancel. And then you can just say like, no, never mind. Actually, I'm going to keep it. I'll pay the annual fee. So it's always worth making that call to see if you can get a discount. Because those are the places, those fees are where we see the most opportunity for negotiation. I think more so than the APR. But I actually have never tried to negotiate an APR because I pay off in full every month.
Right. Yeah. There'd be no reason to do that if you're paying it in full. All right. Number 5 is credit card companies like to sneak in fees. And if we're not really paying attention, we may not even realize all the fees that we can incur. So the first is annual fees. You mentioned that one already, Jen. For a lot of credit cards, particularly your travel rewards credit cards, you're going to have an annual fee. And it's kind of one of the ways of paying for the perks that you eventually get back in other ways. For some people, it's worth it. For other people, it's not. But really being aware of what is the annual fee on the credit card. When does that annual fee get charged? Making sure that you are canceling the card before that annual fee gets charged. If you don't want the credit card anymore, you want to switch to a different one. So that's a big one to be aware of. There are a few important things we believe everyone should be doing with their money, one of them being securing term life insurance for yourself. It's one of the best ways to prepare for the unexpected, and we're thrilled to introduce you to a company that gives you coverage and peace of mind in just minutes.
Fabric by Gerber Life is term life insurance you can get done right from your couch, all online and on your schedule. You could be covered in under 10 minutes with no health exam required. If you've got kids, and especially if you're young and healthy, the time to lock in low rates is now. Even if you have life insurance through your employer, it may not offer enough protection for your family, and it may not follow you if you leave your job. We like Fabric for their flexible, high-quality policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/frugal. That's meetfabric.com/frugal. MEET fabric.com/frugal. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions.
Looking to save even more money on your phone bill? How does free sound? Helium Mobile is offering the first free phone plan. That's right, free phone service. Seriously, no bill, no contract, just free.
It's not just some limited time deal. You get nationwide 5G coverage with 3 gigabytes of data, 300 texts, and 100 minutes of calls. If you need more data, you can upgrade to their other plans. Plus, you're supporting a community-built network that's growing every day to keep you seamlessly connected wherever you go.
When we first heard about Helium Mobile, we couldn't wait to share it with all our Frugal listeners who are looking to budget smarter when it comes to everyday necessities without sacrificing quality.
So if you're in the market to cut that monthly phone bill, like really cut it, Helium Mobile is where it's at. Download the Helium Mobile app today and use the code FRUGAL to get your free plan today.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Is this a good time? It's me, Dylan Mulvaney, and my dear friend Joe Locke from Heartstopper and Agatha All Along is my very first guest on my brand new podcast, The Dylan Hour. It's musical mayhem, and it is going to be so much fun.
I like a man.
You like a man. What do I like, Joe?
You like a man too.
We often...
There's quite similar.
There's some cross-pollination happening in here.
Not like...
No.
Have we? No. No.
Not yet. Never
Not yet.
say never. I cannot wait for all you girls, gays, and theys to join me on this extremely special pink confection of a podcast. There is so much darkness in this world, and what I think we could all use more of is a little joy. Listen to The Dylan Hour on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Love ya!
The next is balance transfer fees. So this can happen when you choose to transfer the balance of one credit card to another, oftentimes to get a lower interest rate. So that is a strategy that you could consider, but you will pay a balance transfer fee. Not totally sure exactly how much this would be, but any amount of money to do this is not something that I want to be spending. Of course, you've got late payment fees. So when you don't pay your credit card bill by the due date, even at least the minimum payment, you're usually going to be hit with a fee. They mentioned back in 2022 how the average fee for late payments was about $32, and U.S. consumers paid in that year a total of $14.5 billion in late payment fees. So even just not paying the minimum can get you really hit with some awful, unexpected charges. And finally is foreign transaction fees. So if you are traveling in another country and you're paying in a different currency with that credit card, the fee is meant to kind of cover the costs associated with converting the currency and processing the payment. So certainly if you are a person who loves to travel, a travel rewards credit card might be better for you where you don't have those foreign transaction fees, but something to look into before you do travel. But again, we are always going to recommend that if you're using a credit card, you are able to pay it off in full. We are not going to recommend that you're putting luxuries and travel on a credit card and using that as a loan.
And again, the fees are the easiest thing to negotiate. So if you are hit with one of these, 100% of the time you should call and try to get it taken off. And then last is not necessarily directly hitting consumers, but it kind of peripherally does, is merchant processing fees. So in addition to user fees, credit card companies collect money from businesses, merchants who accept credit cards. These are usually like a flat fee per transaction plus 2.9%. I want to say it's 25 cents, but that feels very high. So don't quote me on that. But it is a flat fee plus 2.9%. And while this doesn't hit you directly, but sometimes there will be a higher price or a minimum if you pay with a credit card, especially at local places. These retailers build that price into the prices that they sell you things. So sometimes prices increase, not at just the rate of inflation, but because of also these credit card processing fees. If they're getting too much, especially for small businesses, when we are looking at small businesses and we're wondering why are these, things, the same things, more expensive at a small business? Part of it is merchant processing fees. They have to account for those because they want to, because it's a net wash for them because when you pay with a credit card, you buy more. So it's not necessarily good for anyone. So if you are shopping local and you can carry cash for local businesses, do it. It's just, it helps them just a smidge more.
So those are all of the ways that credit cards and their systems around how they charge you, how they work, impact you individually. But there's also some more nefarious things to look at in the ways that credit cards impact us on a more global kind of macro level scale that it's important to realize and be aware of, and possibly even help us to make some of these more beneficial decisions, not just for ourselves, but for our community and world at large.
Yeah. When I was thinking about credit card debt and like what this episode should be, we wanted it to have a piece that motivated you to get out of credit card debt quicker. And for me, knowing the fees and the APR can change and all that, it's good to know, but it doesn't necessarily motivate me more because it only affects me. Like, it's not affecting other people. What really motivates me more is when my decisions impact other people. And being in credit card debt actually does impact other people negatively because your money is going to the bank that holds your credit card. A lot of the times that's Chase, Bank of America, Citi. These are some of the top credit card companies. And those companies aren't just funding like mortgages and car loans and small business loans, right? Those are actually, for the most part, a small, like not a huge, well, I guess it's dependent on percentages, but that's not all that they are doing with your money. They are also funding some things that you may not morally agree with. Again, in our mega survey last month, a ton of you said you wanted to know more about how to be frugal without sacrificing sustainability. And just like the cultural, just being a good citizen of the world. And getting out of credit card debt is one way that you can do it. So we looked at where the biggest banks, biggest credit card companies are investing your money. This is the money you are paying them in interest. And so think about this, like if you had $5,000 in credit card debt and it had like 18% interest, because maybe you've had it for a while, it's an older credit card, and you're looking to pay it off, you're going to pay it off in maybe 2.5 years, you're going to pay $200 a month, then that's over $1,300 in interest. So essentially, instead of maybe investing $1,300 in your own retirement and your own personal growth, you have invested $1,300 in whatever Chase or Bank of America or Wells Fargo wants to invest it in. And here are some of the places where they are investing in. So the world's 60 biggest banks committed $6.9 trillion over the last 8 years to the fossil fuel industry. If you're not 100% familiar with fossil fuels, I don't blame you. I actually had to Google it as well. Fossil fuels power the machinery and that produce plastics for fast fashion and inevitably all those microplastics everywhere and a bunch of other like big stuff that maybe like I don't care about as much, but you could watch documentaries on fossil fuels, right? We're not going to go into that. So the three banks that invest the most into the fossil fuel industry are Chase, Citigroup, which is Citi, CITI, and Bank of America. Wells Fargo, I think, was number 4 or 5. Also, for our Canadian listeners, the Royal Bank of Canada actually was number 1 in 2024, I think. But I couldn't figure out how much they invested in fossil fuels. But in 2022, they invested $42.1 billion. 4.8 of that was for tar sands and 7.4 billion went into fracking. So it's not just American banks. It's also banks in Canada, banks in Japan, all over the world.
We've also found that last year, so in 2024, banks, some of these bigger banks, lobbied against regulations that would cut funding for legal programs that help people like veterans, domestic violence victims, and families facing eviction, that would limit payday loans and laws that would give or require more oversight for banks. And so these are the types of things that big banks are lobbying against, where we are kind of using them to our benefit as an individual, but then they are working against us on a larger scale. And so to be aware that when we're paying interest, that $105 billion of the total $130 billion that they earn in revenue annually is going to some of these efforts that we would probably not choose to be putting our money towards. So all the more reason to find ourselves in a position where we are not paying interest on our credit card debt.
Yeah. And then last one, back in 2018, 2019. So banks used to be big funders of gun manufacturing companies, so like military assault firearm stuff, and private prison groups. And in about 2018, 2019, there was so much advocacy against both of those industries that literally all of the major banks pulled out. And so that felt like a major win. You knew if you were putting your money in Chase, putting your money in Bank of America, you knew they wouldn't be investing in companies that manufactured assault weapons and were, there was so much news about how private prisons were just creating so many human rights violations in their private prisons. So you knew your money wasn't going there. Actually, last year, Bank of America backed off its blanket ban on lending to companies that manufacture what it has labeled as military-style firearms. And so now you can't, put your money with Bank of America and know that it's not going there. And if Bank of America can do it, then other smaller banks feel safer doing it. And if they can do it at firearms, then who's to say they're not also going to back off with private prisons? So once stuff is out of the news and once there's less pressure, like banks will will do these things for optics. And once they're out of the media, they can back off on them. And so there's just so much to think about when you are, putting your money in these places. We definitely recommend credit unions for that reason. You can go to a website called mightydeposits.com, and you can actually see your bank. You can put your bank in and see how much money of your money stays in the community, what it's doing, what it's investing in, and see what grade your bank gets. And so we fully support local banks and credit unions for that reason. But we often don't talk a lot about your credit card interest and the money, the thousands of dollars potentially over your lifetime that you will pay to these banks, what they're going to do and what you could have done alternatively with those thousands of dollars. Where would you have put it?
In a time when it feels like, what do I even have within my power, within my control to make any type of change? And where I think a lot of people just go to just vote. Right. Okay, that's like one day every 4 years on, the bigger voting stuff. But what we do with our money on a daily basis does matter. It matters mostly when we can kind of be a part of a community and in aggregate make these decisions and choices. But what you choose individually still does matter. Where we choose to shop and purchase from, how we choose to use our singular dollars, and whether or not we are carrying credit card debt and paying interest to some of these larger banks and financial institutions, that matters. And so when we can make the decisions to spend better, reduce our debt on high interest types of loans, then we are able to make a pretty significant difference and hopefully feel even better and more confident about the spending decisions that you are making. I think it helps us feel less guilt and shame around our money decisions when we can feel really confident about where we're spending, even if we are spending a little more than maybe we might have spent on Amazon to buy the thing. So yeah, this is hopefully inspiration for you to keep doing the good work that you are doing to refine your spending, align it with your values, and get rid of this high interest debt because it matters for more than just your individual wallets.
And when you pay off your credit card debt, we want to hear about it. And you know where you can tell us?
The Bill of the Week!
That's right. It's time for the best minute of your entire week. Maybe a baby was born and his name is William. Maybe you paid off your mortgage. Maybe your car died and you're happy to not have to pay that bill anymore. Duck bills, Buffalo Bills, Bill Clinton. This is the Bill of the Week.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I love your podcast. I feel like I'm listening to real friends talk about money in a non-scary way. And I wanted to call in my Bill of the Week, which is Buy What You Love Without Going Broke, your new book. I'm so excited to read it, and I've pre-ordered it, and I am so excited for January to get my copy.
Oh my gosh, Stephanie. Well, this is out in March, and so... You see, I love it whenever we have a Bill of the Week that shows how behind we are in Bill of the Week, but also that we play every single one. So thank you so much, Stephanie. I hope you have gotten started on the book and that you have been enjoying it. I have been enjoying it. Buy What You Love Without Going Broke has been an amazing experience, way better than I even anticipated. I knew it would be good to write this book and publish it, but it's been 10 times better.
Yeah, I thought that it'd be like a little anticlimactic for it to go out into the world because we'd already held the book tangibly and we've been working on it for 2 years, but it was the most climactic thing ever. And especially when we hear from listeners like you, Steph, saying, I just bought it, or I'm reading it, or here's my thoughts on it. And you all have been so encouraging, and it's been definitely wind beneath our wings to feel like we are actually helping people. This book is actually really helping people and solidifying some of the ideas. The fact that we can put what we've learned in the past 7 years into one tangible product that you can have and read and implement upon feels really cool in a different way than podcasting, where we're just taking deep dives on snippets of concepts in a 45-minute episode, but being able to give you a resource and a guide that is kind of comprehensive all in one. So thank you so much for pre-ordering that stuff and now having it in your hands. We're so excited. Thanks for your support.
And if you want to get one in your hands, head to buywhatyolovebook.com. There are several ways that you can order it, and we even have instructions on how you can request it at your library.
And if you have a Bill of the Week that you want to submit, if it has to do with buying our book guilt-free, if it has to do with paying off your credit card debt, or you are Bill and you've got literally anything to share with us about your life, we would be so thrilled to hear about it. frugalfriendspodcast.com/bill. Leave us your bill. Looking to save even more money on your phone bill? How does free sound? Helium Mobile is offering the first free phone plan. That's right, free phone service. Seriously, no bill, no contract, just free.
It's not just some limited time deal. You get nationwide 5G coverage with 3 gigabytes of data, 300 texts, and 100 minutes of calls. If you need more data, you can upgrade to their other plans. Plus, you're supporting a community-built network that's growing every day to keep you seamlessly connected wherever you go.
When we first heard about Helium Mobile, we couldn't wait to share it with all our Frugal listeners who are looking to budget smarter when it comes to everyday necessities without sacrificing quality.
So if you're in the market to cut that monthly phone bill, like really cut it, Helium Mobile is where it's at. Download the Helium Mobile app today and use the code FRUGAL to get your free plan today.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Is this a good time? It's me, Dylan Mulvaney, and my dear friend Joe Locke from Heartstopper and Agatha All Along is my very first guest on my brand new podcast, The Dylan Hour. It's musical mayhem, and it is going to be so much fun.
I like a man.
You like a man. What do I like, Joe?
You like a man too.
We often...
There's quite similar...
There's some cross-pollination happening in here.
Not like...
No.
Have we? No. No.
Not yet. Never
Not yet.
say never. I cannot wait for all you girls, gays, and theys to join me on this extremely special pink confection of a podcast. There is so much darkness in this world, and what I think we could all use more of is a little joy. Listen to The Dylan Hour on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Love ya!
I don't know about you, but overpaying for wireless cell service is not in my values. If you too are fed up with crazy high wireless bills, bogus fees, and free perks that actually cost you more in the long run, then make the switch to Mint Mobile.
You can opt out of your overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages, and let Mint Mobile swoop in with their premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month.
All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and is delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. So if you like your money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/frugal. That's mintmobile.com/frugal.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details.
And now it's time for
the lightning round. Pew, pew. Okay, what do you use your credit card for, and when will you pay cash? I will also add, okay, so we use our credit card for all spending unless you cannot. So like utilities, term life insurance, like stuff like that, that gets taken out of debit. But literally everything else is credit card. We will use cash for Facebook Marketplace purchases, but sometimes, more often, we're using like Venmo or something. I don't pay interest, but I will occasionally pay an annual fee. The Hyatt credit card is the one that I pay an annual fee on. I did pay an annual fee for 2 Inc. Business. I can't remember. There's so many types of Chase Inc. Business like cards, but this is the one where you could transfer out to partners, not just like purchase travel through the portal. And I like to transfer out and book flights and hotels and all that directly on those sites. So, and it actually ends up being a better redemption value too. So it's kind of a wash. But I canceled one of those cards, and the other one I will cancel before the annual fee comes up. So
yeah, you churn credit cards a lot more than I do.
I churn them. I get the welcome bonus. I keep them for a year, and then I cut them off, and I wait until I'm eligible for the bonus again, and then I'll get it. And I'll pay an annual fee to get that welcome bonus, but I won't necessarily pay an annual fee again if I don't have the incentive of a bonus.
Yeah. I love my travel credit cards too much. And there's not enough good ones to be able to churn them too quickly. But yeah, for me, really similar. I will use my credit card for all spending, pay it off in full every month. I actually I pay it off multiple times a month just so I don't see the bill get too high. Except I won't use a credit card if I can get a discount by paying cash. So there are plenty of vendors who might either say it's less money or they're going to tack on a fee if you're using a credit card. So in those situations, I won't. There was a time where I calculated it to see, okay, would it be worth it though, even though they're going to charge me an extra 2% to use my credit card for the bonus points that I would get on this transaction? And it did come out to be like a wash, that the amount that the points were worth and what they could get me was like the same amount as the extra money that I was spending. So I say that just to say, don't assume that, oh, you know what, though, it doesn't matter. Let me just use my credit card because I'll get, the rewards for it or whatever. Usually it's a wash or is not good in your favor. So still better to pay cash than to be getting those rewards.
Yeah, I think so. Some of our listeners have like issues, and I know you've talked about this, Jill, like when you carry cash, you kind of just spend it because it doesn't feel like real money anymore. But I think, I hope that maybe we can get into a little bit more cash, at least maybe at local places. Like if you're going to a farmer's market and you know you're going to spend money there, maybe doing cash. But some of these smaller vendors are no longer taking cash. Some of them are only doing cards.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting world that we live in right now. So do what feels right to you. But if you're the kind of person who's like, I need to get cash too often, I can't use a credit union, I would say I take out cash every month for different things, and I use a credit union. And you can always, even if you can't use a credit union, if it's just really not feasible for you, like I can get money out at Publix's. So like the credit union has a partnership with Publix. So I don't have to go to a bank or a credit union like ATM for my cash. I can just go to any Publix. But if it's really that inconvenient for you, do go to mightydeposits.com and see what banks in your area would be more convenient for you, and not as like detrimental to the things that you care about.
Thank you all so much for listening. It's been lovely hanging out with you. We hope that this has been helpful, inspiring, informative. We also are so grateful for the kind reviews that you're leaving for us about our book, like this one from Dora, who talked about Buy What You Love Without Going Broke, giving it 5 stars, saying
Woo-hoo!
Inspiring and about money. I've heard great things about Jen Smith's and Jill Sirianni's podcast, Frugal Friends. However, I tend to prefer reading books over listening to podcasts. Fortunately, they recently published a book titled Buy What You Love Without Going Broke. This allows me to review their ideas, highlight what resonates with me, and revisit their most important points. I highly recommend this book. The central theme focuses on values-based spending, which means spending based on what truly matters to you. They illustrate this concept with personal stories, making it relatable and providing a perspective that really hits home. As I continued to read and reflect on their ideas, I found myself changing my spending and saving habits. These changes have left me feeling positive and are a testament to the power of values-based spending, which aligns with my values and priorities rather than those of society or advertisers. I'm excited to read their newsletter and subscribe to their YouTube channel. What?
Woo-hoo!
To keep this inspiration going.
We are woo girls. We try to say that we're not, but we are woo girls. Thank you so much, Dora. We love reading your reviews. If you haven't reviewed the show yet, please, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a rating, review, comment if you like this episode on Spotify. And if you have read the book, then please give it a review on Amazon, Goodreads, wherever you purchased it. We would love to see those. And it also helps the book expand its reach further and wider and expand its, the message further and wider. And you can find it at buywhatyolovebook.com.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Frugal Friends is produced by Eric Siriani.
I had so many things that I wanted to say to you, and now they're all out the dome.
Oh my gosh, I had nothing from start to finish.
Okay, here's something.
Oh, yay.
I was doing our transaction inventory, which is like basically what I do that's how I do my spending plan.
Some people are Jills and some people are Jens.
Yeah, so I was looking back at kind of all of the spending that I've done and kind of where do my transactions go. I have like a really good pulse on it. But for January and February, it was quite interesting to recognize that Eric and I spend on food, activities, and travel.
Nobody is shocked.
Are not buying things. Just like things, products, tangible stuff other than the food is not coming through our doorstep. But
nobody is shocked.
Are we spending on activities, travel, food?
Yeah. What would you do if you didn't spend on activities and travel?
I do think that, okay, you said activities and travel.
Or one, just pick what if you
I want to
spent
say
less
about
on
food. I feel like I'm not changing travel and activities. It's just not happening.
Okay.
But food, I do feel like we ebb and flow in just spending too much. What I feel is, but sometimes I'm like, what is enough? Who knows? Seasons change. Guests come in town. There's birthdays.
I think it's easier to spend less on activities and travel than it is to spend less on food.
Maybe, but for me, I feel like that is a thing that I can go in and out of within my rhythms.
Because there are so many options for free activities and like lower cost travel.
And maybe I'm making it sound like this is insane, but I will say about once a quarter, we are buying tickets to like a concert or a comedy show. Otherwise, we are doing all of the free activities. But like as something comes up that just seems like, oh yeah, that'd be so fun. Like for instance, in April, we're going to go see Fred Armisen live at like the Tampa Theater. I bought that back in January, like knowing come April, this would be something really fun to do that weekend. We also recently bought tickets for a concert that's like a couple months away. So it's that kind of a thing. And then when it comes to travel, I have family in Ohio and both of us have family in Pennsylvania. And so we try to get to both places. Pennsylvania at least 2 to 3 times a year, Ohio once a quarter.
So it's not like recreation. It's not like I would say recreational
It's
travel.
not all, like touristy, whatever. Now, those trips do happen. I'd say, we take like one big vacation a year and probably like 2 smaller long weekend trips a year. But I budget for I plan for that. I feel like then I know myself so well.
It doesn't sound like you're spending a lot on either. How are those the things that you are spending most on?
It's just, it is the most amount of money because I just bought tickets to go to Ohio in a couple of weeks. And for both Eric and I to go, I want to say it was like $240. So not insane, but it's just like when you look at my spending, it's like, okay, I made 3 transactions, but they all tally up to like $700 or $800. But it's to do these things but that's the thing. Like it looks like you're spending a lot of money on this, but I also know that these are the things that are important to me, what they get me. And I don't want to like budge on them. I feel like I've really come to understand like what I want right now.
I feel like you're in a good spot. Like you don't need to over efficiency-ize. That's not a word.
Right.
You don't need to like overdo it. If you are in a good spot and you're like, these are the amounts that feel good to you. And I told you this before we started recording, but I'll say it on the show. We're reading new books with Kai, and one of them is about spending. It's the Money Bunny series. And one of the show, she's like trying to decide what she wants to spend her money on. And she's like, oh, there's a toy or a pogo stick. And it's the carrots. Carrots are money in Bunnyland. That's the first page of every book. So like a toy for 2 carrots or pogo stick for 3 carrots. And mom's like, oh, you loved that bouncy castle. And she's like, I love it. And mom's like, the bouncy castle is 100 carrots. She's like, that's ridiculous. And mom's like, it's not ridiculous if you have 100 carrots and nothing else to spend them on. And the bunny's like, still ridiculous. Forget the bouncy castle. So like, I feel like it's
I love your bunny voices.
Oh yeah,
like
you got to do the voices.
How you read.
Yeah, you got to do the voices. So like, I feel like it's $800, but it's not ridiculous if you have $800 and nothing else you want to spend it on or value spending it on.
I think that's my biggest thing is like optimizing in investing for retirement. Like, and that's where I think food would be the easiest low-hanging fruit to like rein in at different points. That if my spending on food is what's keeping me from being able to max out my Roth IRA, then that's
there
a problem.
You go. Yeah. No, yeah, I would say that's probably your biggest area for improvement. But you're doing very good.
Yeah, it is nuts. I know this is becoming a whole other episode and we're going to have to do our own spending interventions, but we eat at home most days of the week. But then the weekend comes and we're just doing a whole lot more activities and I'm not cooking like these big meals, or we have friends come in town and it's easier to just go out than have pre-prepared all of the food that we're going to feed them for, the 4 days that they're in town. So it's a tough one to solve for.
Yeah, I still think that people who stay with you need to like buy you food. That's always going to be, because you have so many people and they come back so many times. Like the people that stay with you, they come back several times every year.
Yeah.
So I'm a stand by that.
You heard it here first, folks. Looking to save even more money on your phone bill? How does free sound? Helium Mobile is offering the first free phone plan. That's right, free phone service. Seriously, no bill, no contract, just free.
It's not just some limited time deal. You get nationwide 5G coverage with 3 gigabytes of data, 300 texts, and 100 minutes of calls. If you need more data, you can upgrade to their other plans. Plus, you're supporting a community-built network that's growing every day to keep you seamlessly connected wherever you go.
When we first heard about Helium Mobile, we couldn't wait to share it with all our Frugal listeners who are looking to budget smarter when it comes to everyday necessities without sacrificing quality.
So if you're in the market to cut that monthly phone bill, like really cut it, Helium Mobile is where it's at. Download the Helium Mobile app today and use the code FRUGAL to get your free plan today.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
In a world of economic uncertainty and workplace transformation, learn to lead by example from visionary C-suite executives like Shannon Schuyler of PwC and Will Pearson of iHeartMedia.
The good teacher explains, the great teacher inspires.
Don't always leave your team to do the work. That's been the most important part of how to lead by example.
Listen to Leading by Example, Executives Making an Impact on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Eric Andre. I made a podcast called Bombing about absolutely tanking on stage. I tell gnarly stories, and I talk to friends about their worst moments of bombing in all sorts of ways. Bombing on stage, bombing in public, bombing in life. Like the time I stole a girl's phone during a set and she jumped on stage and threw a big haymaker punch to my nose. Listen to Bombing with Eric Andre on Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.